pitaj me noćas ništa, pusti me da šutim, ja noćas trebam mir. Stare rane opet peku, moje bitke dalje teku. Dušo, ti nemaš ništa s tim, sa tvojeg izvora moja se duša napila. Žedna tvojih godina i sada mamuna pita gdje je utjeha, gdje je mladost nestala. Da se vrate, tragovima njenim hodam tiho, kao da je tu. Sve još miriše na nju i dan i jutro što će doći. Nakon ove noći, noći bez sna i 200 godina da ih brojim u samoći. Još je doza prejaka, a tebe ljubim, da ne poljudim. Da zaboravim. I dan i jutro što će doći. Nakon ove noći, noći bez sna i 200 godina da ih brojim u samoći. Od kako je otišla, sa tvojeg izvora moja se duša napila. Tvojih godina i sada mamurna pita gdje je utjeha, gdje je mladost nestala. U mojim venama još je njenog otrova, još je doza prejaka, a tebe ljubim, da ne poludim, samo da zaboravim.
And welcome to Cro2000 Radio for another installment of our show here on a Monday night. We've got a jam-packed program for you guys at home. But firstly, just want to have an apology for our slight delay. Just one or two teething issues, but now we're live and ready to go from the Croatian club here at King Tom. With us tonight, we've got Jason behind the board.
We're here.
We've got Angela for announcements.
Dobro večer.
Myself, Jakov, and special guest, Branko.
Good evening and dobro večer.
He'll be having a chat later on in the show about his protest of the Tony Jones book, The 20th Man. This is a topic that obviously is important to the Croatian community, particularly in Australia, given Jones's history and given Cro2000's history as well, considering our petition that we launched last year. And we thought it would be good to later on just have a brief chat about where things sit in that regard. So we've got a whole heap of news stories as well. Zdravko Mamić, assassination attempts, all sorts of things are happening in Croatia at the moment. Plenty of sport. Unfortunately, some unfortunate results in the soccer. Only Rijeka making it through to the Europa League group stage round. Dinamo being knocked out. Massive surprise there. So we've got that. We've got a US Open wrap-up coming up starting today at Flushing Meadows. We'll give you the draws of all the Croatian players over the next 2 weeks. And there's plenty more where that came from over the next hour. Not to mention, of course, a smorgasbord of Croatian hits and music. So don't go anywhere. Stay with Cro2000 for the next hour. There's plenty more to come. You're listening to 98.5 FM.
Hoće li ko pjevati o tebi kad mene ne bude, kad mi život oči zaklopi ljubavi? Hoće li još zvijezde nebo kititi, kao ptice tu se gnjezditi? Hoće li se iko voljeti kao mi? Taj dan kada odem ti ja, kada zaspem korak dublje od sna, ja ću naći svoj mir kao cvijet u polju među bijelim brezama. A kako ćeš mi ti, lane, na tom svijetu puno vukova? Naći svoj mir kao cvijet u polju među bijelim brezama. A kako ćeš mi ti, lane, na tom svijetu puno vukova? Ako me voliš, draga, ne postoji granica koja dijeli ovaj svijet od onoga. Ako me voliš, draga, nije zadnja stanica, samo je ljubav tajna dvaju svjetova. Ću naći svoj mir kao cvijet u polju među bijelim brezama. A kako ćeš mi ti, lane, na tom svijetu puno vukova? Ako me voliš, draga, ne postoji granica koja dijeli ovaj svijet od onoga. Ako me voliš, draga, nije zadnja stanica, samo je ljubav tajna dvaju svjetova. stane na tom svijetu punom vukova. Ako me voliš, draga, ne postoji granica koja dijeli ovaj svijet od onoga. Ako me voliš, draga, nije zadnja stanica, samo je ljubav tajna dvaju svjetova. Taj dan kada odem ti ja.
And welcome back to Cro2000. That was Thompson, of course, with Samo je ljubav, tajna dvaju svjetova. Bit of one of those underrated newer songs.
It is. It's actually
a really good song.
It's a great song if you just pull it apart. Obviously, we know Thompson is our favourite for his patriotic songs and his Croatian songs, but
he's entered a new sphere with his songs.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's good to show that he's got a wide range of talents. But great pick there, Jason. Great pick.
No worries. And speaking of a man with a wide range of talents, let's go to the news with Yakov.
Thanks, Jason. Can I put you down as a reference next time I go for a job?
No worries.
We'll kick it off. Probably one of the most interesting stories to come out of Croatia. Croatian football. It's hard to describe his position. He's kind of a director, advisor, overarching figure. Zdravko Mamić shot in the leg by two masked men in an assassination attempt last week. So it's been doing the rounds not only in Croatia but in other European media as well. And the former Dinamo Zagreb manager is obviously a controversial figure and has been on trial over accusations of tax evasion and bribery. So, as mentioned earlier, Mamić was shot in the leg in what has been described by the authorities as an assassination attempt. The attack happened in a cemetery as he was visiting a local church on the anniversary of his father's death. Mamić was wounded just above the kneecap. Bljesak.info reported that it was carried out by two masked men who came out of the woods, ran at Mamić and escaped in a car. Whilst his condition is not life-threatening, it was still obviously a cause for concern for the Dinamo club, and the club released a statement condemning the attack, stating that Dinamo was horrified by the armed attack and the attempted assassination in Tomislav Grad, and that we absolutely condemn the attack. He was pictured, however, a short while later, smiling with staff in the local health centre. So it comes in the context of the various tax evasion and bribery issues that are ongoing in Croatian football. Recently, Luka Modric was forced to give evidence at a trial and controversially changed his testimony, his police statement in favour of Mamić, and that caused a lot of controversy, to put it lightly, in relation to Mamić and his dealings while he was at the Dinamo Zagreb club. In 2016, Mamić was forced to step down following his arrest over those transfer irregularities. So
with this event, it was two men?
Yeah, two masked men. They haven't apprehended the attackers. We don't know who it is. There has been talk that, why did they aim at the leg?
I mean, they must have known also that he would have been visiting his father's grave, because that's not something that really not many people know.
Yeah.
It would have been someone who must have knew him. Or
it's speculation. We can't say more than that, but speculation as to the motives has been raised in the media. We'll report what we know at the present time, but you do raise a good point there, Angela, and there certainly has been even reports in the Večernji as well, and other Croatian media sources about that. So I suppose the mystery continues.
Well, from Večernji, they say they're trying to see if the bullets match any other criminal investigation that they've been doing. If it matches another gun that's been in a neko drugo kazneno djelo, to try and source if,
I'm sure this won't be the end that we'll hear of this particular story. In other news, so firstly, it's been a horrible time in Croatia, obviously in relation to the bushfires. It's been an extremely hot season, and there's been extensive damage done to the Croatian wildlife and surrounds. However, Probably one of the biggest tragedies that happened in relation to that was the Kornati tragedy 10 years ago. And the commemoration for that actually occurred, or is occurring this week when we commemorate the 12 firefighters who died actually on the islands of Kornati. They're actually a national park at Kornati. And it was the biggest tragedy in relation to those kinds of natural disasters in Croatia, or in the modern Croatia, should I say. In order to kind of show as a sign of respect, 60 cyclists, many of them firefighters, started the 4th ultramarathon from Zagreb to Vodice 3 days ago. They covered 375 kilometres and reached Vodice. A march in the memory of the firefighters started at 5 p.m. in the afternoon yesterday, as reported by Jutarnji List, and was followed by a memorial futsal tournament, the motto which is Ovo nije kraj, posvećeno hrabrim ljudima. So commemoration there for those firefighters, and there certainly has been an ongoing effort of Croatian heroic firefighters who are still fighting, active firefighters above Karasovici and other parts of the Croatian područje. There have been fires, as we know, all previously near Split, Solin, Splitska Dalmatinska, all the way through Šibenik as well. Though those fires have been extinguished and put under control, however, now towards the Dubrovnik area there are continuing požari and fires that are still burning, with the Croatian firefighters doing their best to contain those fires.
And in light of that, actually, there's been some rumours as to how these fires have started. I believe there was suspicions that it may have been
people that arson attacks, and that's the issue. One of the first things to come out as a reaction was that one of the Croatian defence minister initially offered his resignation because there was criticism that the military didn't react quickly enough. But the Prime Minister actually refused to accept that resignation. He tried to do the honourable thing. But I agree in that sense that it's hard to blame that on that response. There has been speculation and evidence to suggest that the fires, particularly those earlier fires that we were talking about earlier around the Split, Dalmatinska area, were potentially started intentionally. Some teenagers or young adults have been apprehended or were apprehended. There may have been even discussions that perhaps they were of Serb extraction as well, and that this may have been a deliberate attack on Croatia during the hot weather. Now, again, a concrete answer hasn't yet been concluded, but when you look at the sheer level of devastation, it's certainly something that we wouldn't put past some certainly evil-spirited people. So we'll keep an eye out on those ongoing developments and keep you guys up to date. That's the first part of the news out of the way. Jason's got another track for us, and we'll be back with a whole lot more, including some more news, and later on we'll be chatting to Branko about Tony Jones' protest. You're listening to Cro2000 Radio.
Ti bi jedno, ja bi drugo, ti bi brzo, ja polako. I zato baci pismo ili glava, ko gubi ima pravo na ljubav. Odjednom mojim je mukama došao kraj, sada u tvojim sam rukama, tako sigurna. Za nama zatvaram sve vrata i prozore, da ova ljubav nikad ne pobjegne. Koliko su čekali nas dani i godine, ne da te ne dam, tu sam, tu ostajem. Za nama zatvaram sve vrata i prozore, da ova ljubav nikad ne pobjegne. Srećom pa se isti nađu i Bog nekad krivom crtom piše pravo. Al dok čovjek sebi luta, ko će znati što je krivo, a što pravo. Odjednom mojim je mukama došao kraj, sada u tvojim sam rukama, tako sigurna. Za nama zatvaram sve vrata i prozore, da ova ljubav nikad ne pobjegne. Koliko su čekali nas dani i godine, ne dam, tu sam, tu ostajem. Za nama zatvaram sve vrata i prozore, da ova ljubav nikad ne pobjegne. Za nama zatvaram sve vrata i prozore, da ova ljubav nikad ne pobjegne. Koliko su čekali nas dani i godine, ne dam, tu sam, tu ostajem. Za nama zatvaram sve vrata i prozore, da ova ljubav nikad ne pobjegne. Koliko su čekali nas dani i godine, ne dam, tu sam, tu ostajem. Tu sam, tu ostajem. Koliko su čekali nas dani i godine, ne dam, tu sam, tu ostajem.
And welcome back to Cro2000 Radio. That was Nina Badrić, Dani Godine, her new song. It's a nice one.
It's a nice little touch, good little track there. We try and change it up a little bit for you guys. And
Yes.
keep it fresh here on Cro2000 Radio. And just to continue on with one or two stories more, the controversial ploče in Jasenovac commemorating the horse soldiers is obviously still an ongoing point of dispute and contention in Croatia. And the Prime Minister wants the Administration Minister Kuščević to help him solve the problem. It's a problem.
What is the
It's
problem?
a problem depending on who you ask. It's a problem, but not for us. It's not a problem. But I mean, for certain others, it may be a problem. And obviously, the controversy surrounds the use of the slogan "Zadom Spremni," the horse slogan "Zadom Spremni." Now, historically speaking, it was used in 1991 as well as in other times in Croatia's history. So the Prime Minister has promised to his partners to solve the problem and to find a solution that will kind of appease as many parties as possible, if that is possible.
Let's abbreviate it, ZDS, so you can...
you can guess what it's because the problem is that there's so many various lobby groups and interest groups that are pushing their own issues in relation to it. And the latest event started after Justice Minister Dražen Bošnjaković over the weekend caused almost like a mini crisis in the government when he gave an interview in which he said that the plaque would remain in Jasenovac until a new law was passed next year. Following this, Bošnjaković changed his opinion and stated that there was a possibility that the issue could be resolved earlier and the Administration Ministry was working on a solution. According to media reports at the time, the Administration Ministry has taken the view that there is no legal basis for the plaque to be removed from Jasenovac and that it could remain there until a law is passed. So basically, at this point in time, the plaque is legal, as is the phraseology of a unit that was defending Croatia in 1991, an official unit that eventually became integrated in the broader Croatian armed forces. Another fact as well. So at this point in time, the plaque remains.
So it's not really an issue.
Well, but it will be an issue because there's a lot of people pushing for laws to be changed so that it does get taken down, or at the very least edited, so that the Zadom Spremni phraseology is removed. But that is an ongoing issue, and well, I suppose we haven't reached the conclusion of that particular story. And in a funny story, just to end the news, we've got this. Look, a man. We've talked about the Pelješac area, and it's been a bit controversial there in relation to that Pelješac bridge and high level politics about will it be built, won't it be built? Relations between countries. But on a more local level, a local resident named Boris Franušić has pushed his neighbour's car into the sea at Pelješac as the vehicle was parked in his way as he was paving the embankment, as reported by Jutarnji List. The unfortunate vehicle belonged to another local, Ivan Dužević. The 42-year-old Boris Franušić... Dužević.
Dužević. I'm just joking. If Josip was here, that would have been
big shout
funny.
out, Josip. The 42-year-old Franušić started to pave a local part of the beach in collaboration with his brother, and apparently the vehicle just happened to get in the way of his project.
Well, that was an exaggerated response.
And there was a slight exaggerated response occurred. The vehicle
ended up in the water.
Seemed to cause a few issues, and as he said, ended up going for a swim. The council's yet to respond, but it looks like a kazna will follow. And you know what? To top off the irony is that the paving that he was actually trying to do wasn't actually council approved either. Oh. So he was complaining about a guy who was interrupting his little project, but that wasn't approved either. So who's in the wrong here?
I was going to say, surely they would have cleared the cars beforehand, but.
No, it's an ongoing thing. These are 2-3 month things. They do a couple of pavers at a time.
Couple of pavers here and there, whenever they feel like it.
It's hot, man.
But then again, it's free, a free utility for the council. I'm paving your roads, so...
Everything needs a tick of approval, and that wraps it up for the news section. After this, we'll go to a track. We're going to have a chat with Branko, who will give us a bit of an update on where we stand with Tony Jones and his latest story, the 20th man. A lot more to come. You're listening to Cro2000 Radio.
Koliko ja nju volim, jako samo jedna riječ bi bila to.
back to Cro2000. That was Zaprasic Boys with Neo Pisivo. It's always a bit of a good sporting anthem.
Indeed it is.
Going on a Monday night, and we'll be having some sports news a bit later in the show.
Pump us up for the next story.
That's right. We have a special guest joining us in the studio. He is a guest, but then he's part of
the history of
Cro2000. He's part of the fraternity
radio.
At Cro2000.
And yes, that's right. We're joined by Branko Miletic here. And as Jason mentioned, he's a former member of Cro2000 many years ago, back in the day. And he's come back. What got our attention was obviously his protest of the Tony Jones book, The 20th Man, that's been released. And the book tour is currently underway through several states and territories. For those of you who aren't aware, it's Tony Jones's first fiction novel and is a fiction account of, I suppose, in the Croatian, what he would say, right-wing terrorist movement, and basically combining that with some kind of love story to make a fiction story, which basically serves to make Croatians look bad again. But without further ado, I want to have a chat with Branko Miletic about what caused you to start that protest, and to what really angered you in relation to this publication.
Thank you, Yakov. Got to say, it's good to be back. The studio looks the same, but it smells better. So let's start at the beginning. So in 1979, a book was published by the UDBA. Okay. Now, the UDBA was a very feared secret service, but what it also was, they used to copy the KGB.
Yep.
Basically, copy everything. Now, one thing they would do, which the KGB also did, was to print their own books.
Yep.
Okay. Along with, placing stories in newspapers, making films.
Yep.
They used to print their own books. They had their own printing, publishing house,
Yep.
whatnot. In 1979, one of their I think he was an officer in UDBA, a guy called Georgia Lichina. Mm-hmm. He wrote a book called The 20th Človek, or The 20th Man. Yeah. The book basically took known characters in the Croatian community here in Australia.
Yep.
Okay, so people that a lot of listeners' parents would know very well, and would put them in a. What Lichner did is he wrote this story about the Operation Phoenix, the Bugojno action, as they call it, in 1972.
Yep.
But he took a lot of people that had nothing to do with it. Basically, the whole book was designed to defame the Croatian community.
Yep.
Now, this book, anyway, was never, like a bestseller or anything. But for the Yugoslav, it was there. For the Yugoslav government, it was another little brick in their propaganda wall.
Yep. Anyway,
so this book just died. No one knows whatever happened to this book, and up until about 6 months ago, when one of Australia's, I've got to say, best-known political journalists, the host of Q&A on the ABC,
and certainly one of the best paid.
Well, I'll get on to that actually. Yeah, definitely. He's as a journalist myself, I can tell you he's on a very good wicket. And he actually, I don't know whether people know, but he actually shares a postcode with Malcolm Turnbull. Okay, so the guy's not doing it tough. So he's decided to take this book and rebirth it.
Yep.
Basically. So he's taken a book. He's rewritten parts of it. He's kept decent parts of it exactly the same. What he's done is he's added contemporary characters in. There's a girl, who's in love with a Croatian guy, and she's, also a dope head, apparently. There's all these other characters that come in and out. There are contemporary Australian political figures that are added to the book. But essentially the book's the same thing, and it's got the same title. It's called The 20th Man.
And so when you were, I suppose, conducting your stakeout of Tony Jones last week, and you got the opportunity to exchange a few words with him, I believe.
I certainly did. So I was there at Waride Library, and I've got to tell you, it was very cold. But and I actually, it was kind of funny because I informed the police and the library that I was going to be demonstrating. By the time I turned up, there was 3 police. No, I kid you not. There was one undercover guy who was sitting there all night reading the classified section of the telly. Now, I don't know how many Bobcat classified ads you could actually read in an hour and a half, but apparently quite a few.
You maybe memorised them.
Maybe memorise all the mobile phone numbers. There was 3 to 4 security guards from the library, and about 5 staff. Okay, so I was staking out. I had 3 placards, and I staked out Tony. So I waited, and he's turned up. So he's looked at me. He's looked at the sign. And I think one of the signs said something about plagiarism and whatnot. So and there was another one called fake news, and there was another one about phony Tony. Anyway, look, they were very, very good signs. My wife wrote them up, so they were actually quite funny. So he's come up to me and he says, hello, my name's Tony Jones, and I said, I'm Branko Miletic, blah blah blah, and I said to him, so did you enjoy plagiarising Georgia Lichner's book? And he actually stopped because I pronounced Georgia Lichner perfectly, right? Yeah. So he obviously realised, oops, right? I'm not just a local weirdo. I'm the imported weirdo. So he's looked at me and said, well, I used his book for research, he says. I thought to myself, okay. Research. He doesn't realise that I actually know a little bit more about the book than he thinks. And I said, okay, so fine. So why did you write it? He goes, well, it was. I thought it was an interesting story. And then he turns to me and goes, look, I support your right to demonstrate. It's your democratic right, he said to me, which, by the way, isn't true. The Australian Constitution does not say you have the right to protest. There's no such thing as freedom of speech, just so you all know. So, and he goes, look, I'd be happy for you to come inside and ask me questions.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So he shook my hand. He's walked off. Anyway, so I'm just standing there thinking, I'm holding my sign. I think no more than 5 people turned up. Okay, so there wasn't many people. It was a Tuesday night, I guess, but still.
Cold Tuesday night.
Can
you do it on a cold Tuesday night in Ryde?
Believe me, it was a freezing Tuesday night at Ryde. Anyway, so I decided I will go in and I'll ask questions. I mean, he's invited me. Unfortunately, the 5 security guards, the management, the coppers, it was basically like, I'm surprised it wasn't a SWAT team, because as you can see, I'm a huge bloke, right? So anyway, so they wouldn't let me in. Okay, they said no, we don't want political statements in the library. It's actually not allowed, apparently. So go figure. Council rules. So anyway, I had a bit of an argument with them. Doesn't matter. I went home, but there are other issues there, and I've got to say, and I've got to say hello to all the folks out at Canberra and Melbourne who demonstrated over the weekend, who actually got a lot more than me. There was 10 in 10 in Canberra and about 15 in Melbourne. So
I think if you can still catch that live stream on the Croatian Traditions page, they were live streaming parts of that. So that was a good little piece of organisation there, and in Melbourne as well.
It was. They did really well, and I know in Melbourne and in Canberra it was even colder than Ryde. Okay, so they actually did really well. There's a couple of issues with the book, and it's not, and I believe the genre that he's talking about, they call it semi-fiction or faction. I believe that's the actual term.
Oh, right. Blending fiction story with a kind of factual context, but a fiction story. Faction, there you go. Is that actually a term? Is that actually a term?
It is, apparently, yeah. Okay. So, and I've got to say that I'm not the only person who picked up on this. The global editor, the world editor, as he's known, of the Saturday paper in Melbourne, Hamish MacDonald, who you guys may know for a lot of work with the Croatian Six.
Previous guest on our show.
There you go. He actually, because he does 2 columns, a big one and a little one, and the smaller column he wrote about the remarkable similarities, that was his words, between Tony Jones's book and the 1979 Udbar book. But there are issues here, and there are questions. Okay, so as I said, Tony Jones is not a man who's short of $1. Now in Australia, most book runs are roughly 4,000 to 5,000. That's if you're lucky. Okay, unless you're like the top author or something, you wouldn't do more than 4,000 to 5,000. An author usually gets about 10% of the wholesale price. So if you calculate out Tony Jones wouldn't make more than 20 grand on this book. That's top end.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of money when you actually think, and we're talking over a couple of years, but I'm talking about straight up.
Yeah,
so
that's true. That's
it's
true.
not a lot of money. When you look at the forward in his book, he's thanked Mark Aarons, who a lot of our listeners may know was one of the greatest anti-Croat movers in the 70s and 80s. Now, a lot of you guys weren't born then, but for some of us, we have long memories.
Yeah.
He also thanked a guy called Kerry Milty. Now, Kerry Milty was the press secretary for Lionel Murphy.
Okay.
Okay.
I know that name.
Now, the annoying thing with this is that both, well, Milty, I assume, but I know for a fact that Mark Aarons was well acquainted with Litchner's original book. Okay, very well acquainted. He actually quoted from it over the years. Now, Mark Aarons, to make things even more annoying, actually lives in Croatia.
Oh.
In Rijeka, by the way.
Oh, well, I'm sure.
Of all places.
Of all places, and this is the guy that spent 40-odd years trashing Croatia.
Yeah.
He now lives in Croatia. How's that for irony?
Spends the twilight of his life in a place he hates. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Because if for example, if I'm going to spend my whole life, trashing, I don't know, America or the UK or Israel, I'm going to move there tomorrow because that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Right. The other getting back to the book itself, why would someone who's a very well-known journalist, who's very well paid, who's well respected in the Australian community, why would he choose that particular subject? I mean, it makes little sense, and I still haven't. I've emailed his publishers, I've emailed the ABC, I've emailed him, as asking a question. I've yet to get an answer.
You won't get an answer.
I would say I wouldn't be waiting too long for an answer. Yeah. And you're right. I won't, Yakov. I won't get an answer at all. No. Yeah. But I have a theory. The theory is there's a lot of history is a circle, okay, and things repeat. This is the kind of stuff that we went through in the 70s and 80s, where people would do these kind of things, and you've got no way of fighting against it. And a lot of it was illogical, okay? I mean, a lot of the things that came out in the newspapers in the 70s were just, you'd read it today and people think this was crazy.
Yep.
Like, how could someone actually write something like that? But it would come out. So I'm just wondering, I'm hoping that this isn't the start of something
And
new.
it's interesting that you say that, because if we look back a year ago to when that infamous question and answers show, when the topic of discussion was about terrorism and terrorism in Australia, and the first thing that he thought of and the example that he gave to equate, obviously we know the main topic these days is radical Islamic terrorism and those sort of issues, and they're always in the news. But the first group that he could think of in order to compare with this massive real threat to the Western society was actually the Croatian community.
Not even an IRA. That's normally the first one.
It was the Croatian Catholics.
That's right.
And that was the first light bulb. That was the first thing, or one of the first things that he had to say on the air in order to compare with the scourge of what we see today in the West. In the West, and I think that's telling as well. And the point that you make in relation to how much financial, how much money he'll get from that. This isn't about money for him. There's something, I think, a little bit deeper to this.
Yakov, you've actually hit the nail on the head. So during that conversation on Q&A, they were talking about Islamic terrorism. And the first thing he did is, it's not just Muslims. He said, we've had other religions
That's
too.
right.
Look at
Correct.
what happened in the 70s with the Croatians and their Catholics.
Yep.
That's telling. We have an issue globally of jihadi Islamic terror. That's a fact. It just seems to be, as you said, it's not about the money. And those who know me know that I really don't like conspiracy theories, and I really hate them.
It's not a conspiracy thing. It's just a logical conclusion, I think.
Yeah, it looks like if you're trying to deflect the news or trying to deflect what's going on in the world, I mean, let's see how many people we can pick of. And as Jason said, he didn't even come up with the obvious thing
one.
in the Anglo Celtic sphere would be the Irish, and he didn't even mention
Didn't
that.
go there. No.
He didn't, talk about. I mean, we in Australia we've had a number of issues over this. We've had Armenians. We have had issues, with other. I don't know if a lot of people here know that during the late 90s we had Greeks and Macedonians burning each other's churches down over argument over a name. Okay,
right. That's right. Well, that's ongoing. not perhaps the burning of the churches, but the argument.
Yeah, definitely. So there's been a whole lot of issues that he could have picked on, but no, he goes to something that happened 45 years ago, which. I don't know. I mean, my theory is that we haven't heard the last of this kind of stuff. So
yeah, me neither. And look, at the end of the day, journalists they have their little pet projects and their little things that they want to do. I like to think now. Look, this is my opinion now. Personally, from what I can see, if I can make I speak for no one but myself. But I think that in the Croatian spirit and in the Croatian community, I think it epitomizes everything that Tony Jones is against. Oftentimes we're very fiercely patriotic. We've got our connections to the Catholic Church, and we embody everything I believe that Tony Jones's personal value system is against. And I just have a feeling that if he's looking for a sparring partner or should I say an opposition to knock, for some reason we seem to hit the radar. But that's just my gut feeling. And I think you're right, Branko. This might not be the end of it. But look, what we'll have to do, we'll have to close the discussion on that topic for tonight. That was some really interesting insight there, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come and join us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me, and I love your program.
Thank you so much. And Jason, we're going to go off to another track here, and we'll be back with the sports wrap-up. So don't go anywhere, plenty more to come. You're listening to Cro2000 Radio.
Sam sretan, di čujem djevojačke pjesme. Ležim u sjeni hrača, pijem hladnu vodu iz česme. Pod penđerom di snaši, sviraju tamburaši. Di se uprežu čilaši i znaju me svi salaši. Di gori ona lampa i onaj žeram škripi. Tu će mi duša skončat, tu su mi dani lipi. I drag mi je kirvaj, sjelo prelo i rakije vrelo. Gdje živim ko Bečar pa me znade svako selo. Tu sunce polje kupa, tu mi je jedini dom. Tu kosti moji predaka sanjaju slatkim snom. Ne mogu to opisat, ne bi drugdje znao disat. Od tuge bi umro, da ne mogu žito mirisat. Da ne vidim svog šora ili svog sokaka. Prije nego sklopim oči, još jednom prije mraka. Tu me napravio čača, tu me mater slova učila. Ako bude morao otić, tu ću se vratit ja. Gdje je moja njiva, moja šljiva, moga konja griva, moja krv živa i rijeka bosu pliva. I pale svijeće za heroje što su ginuli za boje. Na ponos i čas, imena Slavonije moje.
I kad poželiš se, ravit se, dođi u Vinkovce. Sve moje ceste su davno zarasle, stojim na pragu vrata Hrvatske. Zovu te, zovu, ravni slavonske, dođi u Vinkovce.
Veličam slike svete, što sam slavonsko dijete od glave do pete. Pa mi iz grla pjesme lete rodnom kraju, mome milom zavičaju, di me ljudi znaju. A zvijezde di ljepše sjaju, di se nebo ljepše plavi, di su osjećaji pravi i na najbolji mogući način di se slavi. A rakija grebe ko slama, druga već ide sama niz grlo u vene. Svaki put kad pismo krene, to je moja Slavonija, to ti je moja ravnica. Razigrani vranci su okolo živa dica, pa kad svine tamburica, ljepše od cvrkuta ptica, lakše je prebolit, onda postane sitnica. To ti je moja dika, svako drvo i šljivika, ljudska mašta ne bi mogla smisliti ljepših vidika. I kad ne bude me više, kad napustim tu idilu, ljubit ću u raju, preljepu slavonsku vilu. Mogu smo dragi mi Hrvati, pa ću molit da me vrati još posljednji put, da gledam dok se žito zlati, a kad me opet gore vrati, zahvalit ću mu prvo što nam je dao komad zemlje, što je za sebe sačuvao.
I kad poželiš se, ravnice, dođi u Vinkovce. Sve moje ceste su davno zarasle, stojim na pragu vrata Hrvatske. Zovu te, zovu, ravni slavonske, dođi u Vinkovce.
Poštujem svakoga, al se nikoga ne bojim, osim dragog Boga, jer je razlog što postojim, što me ima i živim, da dičim sa imenom tvojim. Nepokoreni grad na vratima Hrvatske stoji, klize mi suze po licu dok slušam tamburicu. Kad prsti taknu žicu, ne dirajte mi ravnicu, al sinovi tvoji Slavonio sad te paze, i nikad više tuđe noge neće da te gaze. Ginulo se prelagano, najviše mama je plakalo, predugo je raj na zemlju ličio na pakao. Palili su naše šume, mi smo ih opet zasadili, rušili su naše kuće, mi smo ih opet izgradili, ubijali su moj narod, al smo ostali na svom, da branimo svoj dom, jer volimo svoj dom i vjerni dom u svom. Kad sokolove zove Slavonija majka, pjevat će se riječi ove: ljubim svoje, moje, srce slavonsko je, rakija u krvi, jer volim ljude svoje. Pa svečana oda, svira svetoj zemlji roda, jer plaćena je krvlju dok se sanjala sloboda.
I kad poželiš se, ravnice, dođi u Vinkovce. Sve moje ceste su davno zarasle, stojim na pragu vrata Hrvatske. Zovu te, zovu, ravni slavonske, dođi u Vinkovce. Sve moje ceste su davno zarasle, stojim na pragu vrata Hrvatske. Zovu te, zovu, ravni slavonske, dođi u Vinkovce.
And welcome back to Cro2000. That was another classic favorite of ours, Dođi u Vinkovce, the great Shorty. Don't know, what's he been up to lately?
I don't know what he's been up to lately, to be honest, but look, that's always one of our favourites.
But we have been listening to Croatian rap songs lately. Maybe we'll play some of them that we've heard.
You know what? There are a few. It's a bit of an underrated genre, but Croatian language kind of suits rap. I'm not the biggest rap fan.
All right,
but
that wasn't the case in my car
But he
yesterday.
does listen to Eminem.
Well, he was pumping Eminem in my car driving home from.
There's only one, no, but I don't usually listen to rap. But Croatian kind of suits rap a little bit,
especially with the English.
Okay,
like,
okay, all right.
Well, one thing that Croatians are suited for is some sport. And in particular, it seems football is kind of our game of choice, or at least one we do quite well at. But unfortunately, a few days ago, just to our left, overlooking this field, it wasn't the result that we were after, was it, Yakov? You were there?
No, it certainly wasn't. Cro2000 was there if you were following our live stream of the FFA Cup round of 16. What scenes, I think, was the call of the night. It was a round of 16 clash to head to the quarterfinals, the last day of Australia's Premier Cup competition. Unfortunately, Sydney United lost on penalties after 1-1 in extra time. We were down 1-0. A great effort from the boys to claw it back.
119th minute.
119th minute. Beautiful through ball. They kept their composure. The SUS boys went nuts. The whole stadium went nuts. Cro2000 went nuts, unfortunately. And there seems to be a bit of a that seems to be the bogey side.
Yeah.
What happens is, for some reason, whenever penalty shootouts,
The penalty, so for
they've
those
always been on that side.
From the entrance, for those who were there, it was to the right where the hill is.
The hill, not not where the
behind where the pitches are, the extra little train.
The training pitch, the training ground. Unfortunately, we always seem to have a bit of a bogey on that side, and we missed the first penalty, and from then on, it was always going to be uphill. However, what we can say, it was a great effort by the boys, and it might have been Paninikas's last game in the red, white, and blue as well. So a bit of an end of an era there, but I suppose it shows that we still do have the heart and spirit to complete. And it was also Chulina's first game as coach, I believe, taking over the role. Jason Chulina there,
and it was
following in the footsteps of his dad.
That's
Branko.
right, and it was a great turnout. It was over 2,500 people here on the night. Some flares were let off. It was good fun.
Plenty of chivapi rolls we had.
Plenty of chivapi rolls. You had an encounter, Yakov, you told me, with an FFA official. Was that right?
Oh, no, that's all right. Yeah, we'll keep that one off.
Not going to go into that?
No,
not going to go into that. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's round of 16. Not a bad result. Pretty good effort by the boys. And
unfortunately, though, it does mimic some poor Croatian results in European competition. Jason may have the details.
Well, that's right. You know what? Let's start with the positives and those that did make it through. Rijeka, of course, will be flying the Croatian flag in the Europa League, as they'll be the sole Croatian club in this season's Europa League after a night of drama for all Croatian clubs involved in playoff action last Thursday night or Friday morning our time. So Rijeka qualified for the Europa League after losing their Champions League playoff tie against Olympiacos 3-1 on aggregate after they lost 1-0 at home in Rijeka on Tuesday night. Now Hajduk, they had a pretty difficult mountain to climb to turn around a 2-0 deficit against Everton.
They took a lead.
They took a lead, yes. At half-time, it looked like it could be on. It was a 25-yard... Well, it was an absolute screamer from Josip Radešović. Hajduk fans, 35,000 at the Poljud for a second. They thought, the impossible was about to happen.
That's 35,000 registered.
That's right. Yeah, we've told that story before. But unfortunately, it was short-lived because perhaps some would say an even better goal within, about 50 metres out. They're saying from Gylfi Sigurdsson, Everton's new record signing, caught the goalkeeper napping, and unfortunately things just got worse when Hajduk had a chance in the 65th minute when they were awarded a penalty, but unfortunately it was saved. And though they continued to dominate the rest of the half, they couldn't find the back of the net, and Everton went through 3-1 on aggregate. Dinamo Zagreb also failed to make it through the Europa League after a 0-0 draw away in Albania against Skender. They, of course, lost the first leg 2-1 at home, and although they did dominate in the second leg, they were unable to convert a number of chances that they did create, while the third Croatian club who was in action on the night, Osijek, also failed to turn around the 2-1 home loss in the first leg against Austria Vienna. A goal in the 67th minute from Gabriel Boban gave Osijek the lead, but they couldn't find the second goal that they needed. And despite some good chances, including from Boban again, they were eliminated on the away goals rule after finishing 2-2 on aggregate. So not the best of nights, but as we said, Rijeka are through and they've
drawn a tough group.
That's right. Well, they call the Europa League group of death. So, by Europa League, this is a pretty tough task ahead of them. The draw in Monaco gave Rijeka AC Milan, AEK Athens from Greece, and Austria Vienna, who we just mentioned, knocked out Osijek. So Rijeka qualified automatically for the Europa League, even though they were knocked out of the Champions League playoff. The Rijeka's coach said this is a very serious thing. When you're up against teams you can only dream about playing, the only thing you can do is work hard and do your best. Being the Europa League is motivation enough for Rijeka to keep working hard. So the first match of the group stage is in a few weeks' time on the 14th of September. The final, of course, should Rijeka do the impossible, will be played at the Stade de Lyon next year in mid-May.
Beautiful.
So there you go. Speaking of that, see you there. You know, you going, Yakov? Yeah.
Yeah, in May.
Did you get the afternoon flight or did you get the morning flight?
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if we can meet up. Maybe our hotel rooms will be adjoining. Now,
confidence.
Yeah, that's. Now, of course, we did mention some flares earlier in the Sydney United game. Unfortunately, in Dinamo Zagreb's game, there will be. UEFA isn't a big fan of it. They haven't quite. They don't understand.
They don't get it.
They just don't get it. Some bureaucrat in a suit and tie says, "Yeah, don't do that. No flares." UEFA has punished Dinamo Zagreb for the use of quote pyrotechnics end quote.
Other comments
that were made by the crowd during their first playoff match at the Maximir against Skander, not the second leg. So due to fan behaviour, the disciplinary commission has penalised Dinamo for violating Article 14 for the use of pyrotechnics, as well as other comments that were made by the fans. So they have been fined €5,000, and so for their first European match next season, they will, they should.
They should make
the Maximir will be played behind closed doors. So there you go. This was actually Dinamo's first time that the club has failed to advance to the group stage of a European competition since just over 10 years ago, the 2006-2007 season.
There we go.
So not the best of the news
for Dinamo supporters.
Just other quick football news. Nikola Kalinic, he has finally joined officially AC Milan on a loan deal with an option to buy, pending a 4-year contract. So AC Milan picked up the Croatian who's scored, since he arrived in Italy, has had 33 goals in 83 appearances. So, look, he's pretty much on the score sheet every other week for Fiorentina. So it's a great buy for them. And Jakov, we also have some big news coming up we have both tennis and basketball.
Indeed we do, Jason. Thanks for that wrap-up. To move on to those sports. Firstly, we'll go take a bit of a trip down memory lane with Croatian Toni Kukoc to be inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Obviously, Croatian basketball legend Toni Kukoc gained notoriety and fame for being the sixth man in the famous Chicago Bulls team. People forget that he was a part of that one of the greatest squads in NBA history. Kukoc joins the Dream Team and Shaquille O'Neal as headlines in the FIBA International Basketball Hall of Fame as inductees for 2017. The ceremony will take place on the 30th of September at the FIBA headquarters in Switzerland. Kukoc was obviously one of the first established European stars to play in the NBA, winning the NBA Sixth Man of the Year award in 1996 and 3 NBA championship rings with the Chicago Bulls. So great to see that recognition there.
Thoroughly deserved.
Thoroughly deserved.
And he really was one of the first, not just Croatian, but European players.
He was really after building off from Petrovic and some of his early work and when the NBA still didn't really trust European players. These guys don't know how to play hardball, you know.
He showed them that European man can jump.
Indeed.
Especially Croatian man, he can jump even higher.
Indeed. And now, obviously, the next sporting story of the week is, of course, to do with the US Open tennis. It kicks off this week at Flushing Meadows, tonight at Flushing Meadows, actually. Marin Cilic was initially drawn to play Gilles Simon in the first round, but Simon has pulled out and he will be replaced by American T. Sandgren. They're playing at 2:15 a.m. and Marin Cilic is actually the number 5 seed, obviously previous winner of the US Open. We've got Bernard Tomic, Australian-Croatian, will be playing Gilles Muller, number 19 seed on court 10. Borna Čorić will play Jiri Veseli. Actually a tough match. Veseli's in good form, so Čorić will have that one at 5:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. Whilst in the women's draw, Ana Konjuh plays against the Australian Ashley Barty. Ana Konjuh is number 21 seed. She's playing tomorrow morning at 6:15 a.m. Mirjana Lucic-Baroni, everyone's second favourite tennis player.
That's right.
Her dream fairy tale run won her legions of fans. She's going to be drawn against Monica Puig from Puerto Rico, and Lucic is the 29th seed. Whilst the final Croatian that is in the main draw, Donna Vekic, plays her first round match against Haddad Maia of Brazil at 4:15 tomorrow morning.
There you have it.
And that wraps it up
we just
for
also
the
have,
sports, or
quickly,
it doesn't actually.
Quickly as well, the IAAF, the World's Athletics governing body, their next World Challenge meeting will be in Zagreb coming up this week.
Yep.
It kicks off Tuesday Croatia time. It's the penultimate World Challenge meeting of the year. And of course, the number of stars will be competing include our own Sandra Perkovic, who just won European, was a world, or she's got both.
Oh, she's
got both.
It was World Championships.
It was the World Championships. That's right. Sarah Kolaka, men's shot put champion Tom Walsh from New Zealand, who'll be competing against, of course, Stipe Zunic, who won the bronze in the shot put at the World Championship. So we hope Stipe can go one better or two better this time. So that
was a bit of a surprise, but he's done well.
He's in there. I was actually watching on the Croatian news beforehand, the press conference. So they seem to be made to Walsh and Zunic, but we know who we'll be rooting for. And that is it for the sport this week. We'll be back with some community announcements, how you can evolve in the community after this next track. You're listening to Cro2000 Radio.
Nedja misa prošla, zvizdan manta glavu, gledam livo, gledam desno, u prazan zog, u praznu šentadu, mačaću drugo, popiću bevandu. Die Marinante, Stipe, Mario, Mate, Pile, Vice, Vinko, Ino, Darko, Dino, Bubi, Bisera i Morivo, yeah. Marenda prošla, zvanje pršut opanja fjaku.
Ma kucan zove, ma slomit ću ti ovaj kraku. Ma čas si ključ stavija upravo.
Ivanka sinko glavu.
Di je Zdravko, Branko, Sveto, Antić, Tonči, Ljuka, Vjeko, Ivan, Marko, Miro, Niko, Žura, Toni, Mladen, Tiho. Ode buj opet krivo, desno Žeko, Jure, livo, Duje, Toko, Roko, Ivo, Milan, Bego, pukni livo. Ajmo, Ivo, Mari. Evo lagano špunde pod moje noge, ma ne možeš je falit. Ala, brale, ludila, vidi balote, ovaj meni sretini ću prolaz. Šizalo! Ajde na basi! Ajde, ne mogu da vidim da si ti danas ukradija. Je li bila blitva za obid?
Meni niko neće niko, zavije se, ne trpi niko kad su puti sitno, sitno.
welcome back to Cro2000. That was, of course, our good friends, Klapa Samoana, with their song Balote. Definitely
That's
favourite.
such a good song.
A big shout out to Christian as well. Well, I'm not sure if he's listening from Klapa Samoana. I know he's busy now. It's New Zealand election time. He's got himself in electioneering mode. So there we go. Big shout out to the boys there and to whatever they might be getting up to. And it's that time of the week where we go, as Jason mentioned earlier, to the announcement section, and you can see if there's something that you can do to get involved in the Croatian community. Angela, what have we got for us?
Thank you. So to start off with that King Tom where we're at, we have Darts Night coming up in...
Not this Friday?
Not this Friday, but the following
Friday
one.
week.
So the 2nd of September. No, that's not the date.
First.
The
1st of September.
1st of September, that's right. So make sure that you're there in time for registrations, which start from 7 p.m. and competition starts from 8 p.m. And that's at King Tom Club. It's $20 entry and cash prizes are available for the winners.
Hang on, so it'd be the 8th. It'd be the 8th.
Because the first is this Friday.
This
That's
Friday,
right, the
yes.
8th of September. Okay, so don't come this Friday. Come on the 8th.
Well, come if you want. Have a
Friday.
practice.
Yes,
come every Friday.
That's right. At King Tom, we also have the Wednesday night 300 rum steak from $14. It comes with chips and salad and a medium big glass of house wine or soft drink. Available at Lutsemala restaurant. Please, bookings are preferred, as Lutsemala says, on 96109811. You can make those reservations.
Great value. Just quick, do you know who won darts last Friday?
I'm not sure, actually.
Find out.
I'm not sure, and I do want to confirm that darts event, because there was talk about a little bit of a hiatus because people are in Croatia.
Right.
And then that may or may not have been the case.
Well, they should be back in time for September. Više nije sezona.
Ne znam. I'll have to confirm that. It's on as of now, but we can get confirmation for that before you start your engines and make your way to King Tom in Friday in a fortnight.
That's right.
There you go.
Furthermore, at King Tom, we also know that we have Father's Day approaching on the 2nd of September. Folklorna Grupa Linjo will be entertaining you on that day at King Tom Club. Doors open at 7 p.m. Adults entry is $15 and for pensioners it's $10. It's featuring Plavi and CFE Vukovar.
Fantastic.
Okay, sorry about that. Just a bit of a brain freeze. At Punch Bowl, we have the Fisherman's Night approaching on the 1st of September. That's this Friday, so there's something to do this Friday. It's a hot buffet, salad bar and dessert bar, $45 per person with live music. We've got bookings are essential, and please confirm on 97084699.
Hang on, so it's on the 1st.
That's the 1st of
That's
September.
the 1st.
That's this Friday.
That's this Friday.
Is it normally the last Friday of the month?
Well, I'm not sure how they've done it, but I know for certain that this Friday, if you go to Punch Bowl
it will be on.
Get seafood,
yes.
You will get seafood.
It will be on. I'm just thinking, I see what they've done. Like, fair enough. I'm applauding the change. Fair enough. It makes sense because it kind of, the first is that way. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Because then the next one's going to be delayed by another week. But yeah, fair enough.
You have to take one for the team.
That's right.
September had to take one for the team.
At Hrvatsko društvo Punch Bowl, we also have a zabava called Zapjevajmo prijatelji uz bogati program Zabavljat će vas 100 na sat. And Dani Herceg, Toni Belavić, Perica Frketić, Tom Habričko, Helena Čurić, Jela Marković and Darko Zorić. That's on Saturday the 2nd of September, starting at 7:30, with an entry ticket for $25 and pensioners enter for $15. Children under 12 can come for free. And they're accepting reservations, so please call 0416 277 009, and that will be our Punch Bowl. Also, later on this year, we have a few more announcements. We have, of course, the soccer tournament in Canberra. That's from the 28th of September to the 1st of October at the Croatian Deacon Soccer Club. So start organising your way, because it's not long to go anymore, probably 4 more weeks.
That's right.
Yeah, in a month exactly from now.
Accommodation is getting thin on the ground. You might have to camp out or pitch a tent.
Yeah. It's like on that Airbnb and it's like only 2% left. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Bit of pressure.
Bit of pressure. Like, do you go for that place that only has like 2 reviews or?
But it's closer.
It's closer. You got like 1 5-star, 1 2-star. You're like, oh, maybe that guy was just, had a bad day.
Trying to justify it.
So make your reservation soon. And later on this year, we have, it was announced that Oliver and Gibboni are coming to Sydney and Melbourne, but we've had recent news that Oliver Dragojevic has been diagnosed with a tumour in his lungs.
Lung tumour,
yeah,
lung cancer.
So we're still to hear if that's going to go ahead. But from what I've seen on Ticketmaster, the tickets are still on sale. So I am assuming at least Gibboni will come to entertain you. And that's in November, on the 23rd of November. They're coming to Sydney, and in Melbourne on the 25th of November. And tickets can be purchased through ticketmaster.com.au. And that wraps it up for this week's announcements.
And that wraps it up for the show on another Monday night. Thank you for joining us here, broadcasting live from King Tom, Adenza Park, Sydney United Sports Centre, whatever you want to call it. It's right in the heart, we think, of the Croatian community here in Western Sydney.
Our apologies for the slight delay at the start, and a big thank you to Branko Miletic for coming out and sharing his thoughts on the matter. And thanks
for everyone as well, in not just in Sydney, but in Melbourne and Canberra, as we mentioned, that came out to join the protest against Tony Jones's book. So great effort by the Croatian community.
And make sure to join us same time, same place next Monday here on 98.5 FM.
Lako noć.